YouTube. This video is about HDA2 upgrade I've done on my 2023 Genesis GV80. Now, Genesis cars sold in the US are normally shipped with HDA2, but because of the recent chip shortage, they took it out from 2022 and 2023 model years. Now, I'm not going to get into details of what HDA is because that's not the focus of this video. Okay, so let's get into it. What do you get from HDA2 upgrade? First, you get Ford cross-traffic safety. Now, this is the main reason I went through the trouble to get it upgraded. Then you get driving style-based smart cruise control, highway lane change assist, and the awareness and visualization of vehicles on both sides of the lane. Here is a simplified illustration of the car as it was shipped from the factory. This is the front bumper area. There's nothing related to HDA2 function. And in the engine bay, there's a front radar which connects to lane keeping assist module inside the cabin via this ADAS CAN bus. And inside the cabin, I drew a couple of wires representing a local CAN bus that connects the two rear corner radars. And this is the full wiring diagram of the HDA2 upgrade. We have three new components here, two front corner radars in the bumper, and we got ADAS Driving ECU. It's to be installed inside the cabin. To make connections, the local CAN bus that used to connect only the rear corner radars is now extended all the way out to the front bumper and return back to the rear radars. Now, it's important that this wiring is done in such a way that the rear radars are kept at the end of the this local CAN bus, because each of the radars, that's where they have the termination impedance. So it's important that they are situated at the end of this long local CAN bus. And this front corner radars, they are only connected via short wiring stubs. Otherwise you get large reflections, and that could interfere with communication. Likewise for the ADAS bus, it's extended by making a large loop around the bumper and returning back to the original wiring. So it's not a long stub that connects to these front radars, but you make a loop around it so that this front radar remains at the end of this long wiring, not in the middle of the wiring, because this front radar is one end of the termination impedance. So that's how you do the wiring for communication. And this ADAS ECU also connects to the same ADAS CAN bus. So this is another wiring that needs to happen. And it also connects to the ignition control unit via yet another CAN bus. This one's called the eCAN. So it goes to that ICU control unit, and it needs supply from ignition as well. The front corner radars, it takes two supplies. One's from ignition, and the other one is always on supply. This is always like 12 volts even when the ignition is off and the vehicle is powered down. This is always supplied. So that's how you do the wiring. And this connector here that connects the bumper wiring harness to the car. This connector is called the EE11. This is one of the main connectors that we're gonna modify to accommodate all of these new wirings. So we're gonna make use of the existing connector. This is the existing connector, and it's mostly empty. It only uses how many, like 6, 7, 8 pins to connect to the ultrasound sensors on the bumper. So we got all these like empty spots that we're gonna fill up with new pins to accommodate all these new wires. Now this bumper wiring, all of this can be purchased because there's a stock genuine part that does all of this wiring for you. So you could choose to buy that if you want to, but I just made my own. It's not that hard. It's just some wiring. So I don't know why I did that, but it takes a little bit of more effort because you have to make the connectors yourself. You have to buy the right connector type, buy the pins separately, and make all this wiring yourself. It's not too hard, but alternative is you could just buy the part and be done with this wiring in the bumper. But anyways, I made this myself, and the other wiring that needs to happen, there are like 5 wires that needs to come from inside the cabin through the engine bay, and then to this connector, finally connects to the bumper wiring harness. And also there are again 5 wires that needs to connect, that needs to come from the front radar connector to this main connector that connects to the bumper to complete the wiring. The grounding I just reused. I just tapped onto the grounding for the ultrasonic sensors. These things don't draw that much current anyways, so it was okay to share the same ground connection that existed for the ultrasound sensors, so that's no problem there. So yeah, let's see how these things are connected. Here, just a picture of the components that I had to buy. These are the corner radars, and in the middle is the ADAS Driving ECU. They're not that expensive, but this thing in the middle, this ADAS ECU, is only $100, but the chip shortage made it so hard for them to produce this component, and Genesis had to take out HDA2 from the past 2 years from their cars. So now these parts are still very hard to get, but they're starting to show in the aftermarket, not aftermarket, but genuine parts, but it's available for the consumers to buy, at least in Korea. So these things, these parts or bought from Korea and shipped over to the US. Here is the picture of the bumper, front bumper, lower left corner. This is EE11 connector, the main connector that I was talking about. This is the only connection between the bumper, front bumper, and the rest of the car. So all the wiring needs to go through this connector. And here we have the front bumper taken off the car, and this is what it looked like. Here we have the front radar, and there's nothing much to go over here, but yeah, here's the EE11 connector. And here is the bumper. All these wiring harness connects to the ultrasonic sensors and front view camera, which is mounted up here somewhere, but no wiring harness for the front corner radars. So this is where the left front corner radar is going to go, and this is a picture taken after installing front left corner radar. It's not connected yet, but it's just mounted. Likewise for the right hand side, that's the right hand side corner radar at the front. And this is the wiring harness for the bumper that I made. The pins, it's waterproof pins, so I made those. And these are the connectors, and they connect to the front corner radars. So this portion of the wiring is now done. I installed the new wiring harness. So the front left corner radar is connected at this point. Here's the connector, and the wiring harness comes down like this, and through here like that, up here, and then there's another connector, the blue connector that connects to the front right corner radar, and the rest of the wires connected to this big connector EE11. This is what it looks like. This portion here is the stock wiring, and this is newly added wires. So these white silicon seals are the newly added wires. And again, the pins was mostly empty, but after adding that bumper wiring harness, the pins are all populated like that. Then I worked on this part of the wiring. It connects from that EE11 connector through the firewall inside the cabin. So there are like five wires that needs to make from EE11 through to the cabin area. And just to note that this local CAN bus that connects the two rear corner radars, they are connected at this joint connector named JF06, and lucky for me, this connector was located very close to the front driver's seat, just next to the front driver's seat. Normally, because these radars are at the rear bumper, this joint connector is all the way back at the rear bumper or the trunk area. But for some reason, they chose to put it next to the driver seat. So this joint connector here shown here is a JF06, and it has the wires coming from the rear bumper corner radars. So it was very convenient to connect from here to EE11 front bumper connector. So here I cut that local CAN bus and made the extension to go to the front of the bumper and come back. So here are the wiring connections that I made, and this is a newly installed wire, and this is the wire that goes to the joint connector JF06 that I just showed you. And here's one supply wire that connects to this big connector here. This is MF11. It's located at the lower driver side crash pad. And then moving on to the wiring from the front radar connector to the EE11 connector. So this is the front radar, and this is the connector that connects to the ADAS CAN bus and supply and so on. This black and yellow wires are the ADAS CAN bus. So it was normally connected coming from the car like this, and then it was connecting to this connector straight through. But I cut it here so that one end goes to the bumper area, and the other end also goes to the bumper area. It meets in the bumper, so it's making a big loop and coming back again. This is done so because this front radar has the termination impedance, so this front radar needs to stay at the end of the CAN bus. So I'm making a loop instead of making a stop. So that's the wiring that needs to happen here. And also I connect a ignition supply, tapping off of this supply connection to the front radar. So this red wire now also goes to the bumper area and connect to the front corner radars. So now wrapped up again. This is a newly installed wire here, and now it's connected to the front radar. So that's been taken care of. Next thing is the supply wires for the ADAS ECU, and I found that this connector here, this normally connects to the crash pad switch here. It goes behind that, and there's an ignition wire and ground. So I got the supply for the ADAS ECU from this connector. So I connect my wires to this connector, and the other end goes to the ADAS ECU. And then I took care of the ECAN bus that connects the ADAS ECU to the car, basically, the ignition control unit, by connecting to these two wires in the big connector called EM11, which is this one here. Same. So this is located lower left corner of the driver's side crash pad. So these are newly connected wires connecting to the ECAN bus, and the other end goes to the ADAS ECU. And this is the last part of the last leg of the wiring, which is connecting the ADAS ECU to the ADAS CAN bus. So it connects to the front radar as well as the front corner radars, and the other end it also goes to the lane keeping assistant module, which is basically a camera located behind the room mirror. So all those things needs to connect to this ADAS CAN bus and needs to talk to this ADAS ECU. So this connector here is EM21, yes, which is located at the lower right corner of the passenger side crash pad. So here is the here are the two wires, the yellow and the black wires that are connecting to the ADAS CAN bus. And then underneath the this is the steering wheel column. Underneath the driver's side crash pad, there's a location for there's a bracket that's designed to hold this ADAS Drive ECU. Now this Drive ECU contains accelerometer of its own, so it senses lateral motion as well as acceleration, as well as longitudinal acceleration of the car, and take that information into account when it does its thing. So it's important. It's directional essentially. It needs to point to certain direction. So it's important that this gets installed at this location where it's supposed to be. Otherwise, the accelerometer is not going to give you the right information. It'll get confused as to how the car is accelerating, or and so on. So it's very hard to get to this very tight space. So you have to take out this module out to make some room, and then put this guy in. But even then, that's a very small tight space you have to work with, but it's doable. So you install that into this location here and put everything back together. Now here's the bumper. This connector here is the EE11 connector. It's heavily modified, new wires, new pins inserted to make connections to the front corner radars. I haven't put it back together yet, just doing some testing here. So what happens is that if you don't plug in the front corner radars and the drive ECU, what happens is that the car does not know, I mean, all these modifications that I've done, the car does not know if all this has been done to the car, because the wires that I cut, I eventually connected back again. So it's just making a big loop, comes back. So essentially these two corner radars in the back, they are still connected. There's a bit of stuff hanging off, but if you don't connect this front corner radar, the car does not see it. So as far as the car is concerned, without these things connected, the new hardware, nothing has changed. Likewise for the front radar, normally this CAN bus will come in like this and then connect straight to the front radar, but we made this modification here. But because this is just a long loop and a bit of a stub, wiring stub hanging off, it's essentially just same connection as before. Likewise here in the ADAS ECU, if you don't plug in that connector, this is just wiring stub, open-ended here, another wiring stub here, open-ended. So the car does not know all this new wiring is added to the car. So what that means is that if you start the car, you should not see any change. You should behave just like before. So I'll show you in that video here. So here in the instrument cluster, there's no error message or no warning because the car does not know about the new wiring. And in the infotainment system, if you go to drive assistance, the menus hasn't changed, same as before. The front corner radar portion, they're showing white waves, indicating they're not installed in this car. And if you go to driving convenience option, there's no highway lane change assist option. So same as before. And if you go to Ford safety, there's no cross traffic assistance. So again, same as before. Now after plugging in the front corner radars and the ADAS ECU, the car is confused because of the newly added hardware. It doesn't know what to do with it. So it gives you all this warning and error message on the instrument cluster, and also on the infotainment system. These menu options. Well, this was newly created now, but they're grayed out, and the lane safety is flashing. So the car is very confused about the change in the hardware. And after completing the variant coding, which is essentially telling the car what to do with the newly added hardware, all the errors from the instrument cluster disappeared, like shown here. And over in the infotainment system, if you go to vehicle driver assistance, here you will see this front corner radars, the waves. Now they became blue and active. Also, this smart cruise control menu option, which wasn't there before, is newly created. If you go into the menu inside the under the driving convenience, now you have highway lane change assist. So this is newly created menu option. Then Ford safety. Now here, this wasn't there before. Now there you have Ford cross traffic safety. And let's see. And over here under smart cruise control, newly created menu option, you have option to choose based on driving style. So essentially you get to choose different distance from the the vehicle in front of you, and different acceleration rate, reaction speed. These things will adapt to your driving style, these three parameters. So they'll be adjusted to your driving style as you drive. But you could also come in here and manually adjust if you want to. So this again is a newly added feature. So I took the car for a test drive. I'm on a highway. That's why HDA is kicked in. Speed limit there is 65, so I set the speed limit to 65. And if you match that speed, the navigation-based cruise control kicks in, so that now this is in green. Let's see how it goes. It's sensing the car on the right hand side. It wasn't able to do that before. It was only able to sense the car in front.
Wow.
So it's working. Two cars passing by. It's able to see those cars. Now the highway lane change assist. You flick the switch and the indicator switch, and the car looks for safety and then change the lane for you if it's safe to do so. I thought it was some sort of party trick. I wasn't really looking forward to this feature, but after using it for a while, this is really convenient. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching.